Hi, welcome to this video, and in this video I am talking about arranged marriages and specifically what we can learn from arranged marriages. This came about as a result of having had several people say how arranged marriages actually worked better than the modern day marriage where we are choosing for ourselves who to marry. And so I just took some time to just think around it. What might have made these marriages work better? What might they have been doing that we're not doing today, or we might be overlooking that could make actually marriages today work? So that is what I'll be talking about, lessons we can pick from arranged marriages. And it's also good to say, I'm not advocating for arranged marriages. I actually prefer the modern day marriage where you choose someone that you actually like or love, and it is your own decision. And as we say, when you're making a decision, you should also be willing to take up the responsibility that comes with the decision that you make, right? So if you're new in this channel, before I go to the points, my name is Grace, and all I talk about in this channel is things that have to do with creating a good foundation for your marriage. And like I always say, this foundation is made before you get married and the first years of marriage, but specifically before you get married and even before you start dating, right? Yeah, so if you're interested in such kind of content, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of our videos. And yeah, those who've been always coming back, thank you so much for your comments. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for always coming back. We feel your love and we appreciate that. Right, we get to the first point, why I believe arranged marriages worked better than today. Number one is background check was well done. I believe most parents, let me not say all parents, most parents want the best for their children. So for arranged marriages, they were mostly done by parents. And so they would do a good background check on the family of the potential spouse. They would do a background check on the spouse, the potential spouse. They would check history, they would get to see the character, they would even foresee the potential of this said potential partner and their family, because it would be a long-term thing. It's not something for just today. So they did a whole background check. And that is one thing that a lot of people today miss or take for granted, take it very lightly. But I encourage you to do your background check. And that is why I did a whole series on some of the things that you need to discuss or observe or ask. I named it Before the Engagement. If you've not yet watched that, please make sure to watch. It is basically to help you do some insight, some background check on your partner, and also let them and also unveil yourself to your partner so that they have an insight of who you really are. So that is one thing that I think worked very well for arranged marriages, and one thing that we should enforce today, that you don't just get married to someone that you don't know or you don't even have an idea of how they came to be who they are today, right? Yeah, so arranged marriages had a good background check. And that leads me to the next one, which is decisions were made on logic and not emotions or feelings. When they were doing their background check, parents didn't go with feelings because they are not the ones who are actually getting married. They used a lot of logic. They would do the background check looking and thinking around it and using logic to make the decision. One thing that is very tricky is when you like someone, there are things you might overlook because you like them. There are those red flags that you might ignore or turn their color to orange or green because you like someone. Sometimes people think that just because you love each other, there's nothing that you can't conquer. This person, you look at your partner as a perfect person, and you also present yourself as a very perfect person. So you might find yourself, because of the emotions, you are not making an informed decision. You do your background check with a lot of feelings and emotions, and so you make a decision that is wrong, thinking that you're actually right, or you make a decision with already some uncertainties, with some feeling that this might not be it, but because of the feelings, maybe because you're asking yourself, what will people think, what will people say, we have been dating for 2 years or 3 years, we've been dating for 7 years, what will people say, or I'm the only one who is not married, all my siblings are married, my friends are all married, and you go with those emotions. If you make your decision on emotions, you might cross over to getting married, and you realize that marriage cannot work. Because as one of the videos I did talking about attraction, I said attraction cannot sustain a marriage, and that is why you need logic. You need to do your background check with more of logic than the feelings. Attraction is very important, but it cannot sustain a relationship. It cannot sustain a marriage. Okay? So that is one thing I have realized used to work so well, because the potential couple was not involved in this. No feelings were really involved. They used a lot of logic, looking at the potential, looking at the long term, how will this affect the relationship of both families and the future generation, right? And that leads me to the next point, which is wise counsel. When the decisions are being made on logic, there's also a lot of counsel that is involved. And how this counsel used to come about is, as people are making the decision, they would not just be, parents wouldn't just sit alone and decide, you know what, we're going to have a girl married into this family. They would involve other people who would give insight, because there are things they might not know about this potential family, right? So they would have people talk about, and then there's still something else they would do before the couple gets married. They would involve the elderly, the older women would sit with the lady, and older men would sit with the man, and they would give counsel. I know with the traditional African marriages, this is still being done, which is a very good thing. I remember, like, for my husband and I, before we got married, we had that. We didn't have a traditional wedding, but we had this session where we had elderly uncles, aunties, and close family friends, the older ones. They sat with us and gave us counsel. They advised us on how to go about marriage. So that is one thing that was very common, because the family didn't want to be embarrassed. You know, I don't know whether you've heard this story, but I think a long time ago, my mom used to tell us, or somebody used to tell us, that there are girls who would be returned back home because they don't know how to work. So a family wouldn't want to hand their daughter over to marriage, and she's seen as incompetent, right? And a man wouldn't want to to accept a daughter to come to his family, be married to the son, and the son is seen as incompetent. So they had to really advise and counsel these young people and make sure they are actually ready for marriage. Of course, counsel would happen since someone is very young and through the rites of passage. But even before the wedding, I hear a long time ago, like in our culture, it would happen the night before the wedding. But nowadays it's done sometimes months before the wedding or weeks before the wedding. So culture is still continuing on this, but in the modern day marriage, maybe you don't have that in your culture where you sit with older women, older men, and they advise you. Nowadays, people are doing it like bridal showers, there is groom shower, we have, you can visit couples. I have been talking about this, and I know there are people who feel, well, you've just been married 1 year, 2 years. What do you have to say about marriage? Let me tell you, don't look down upon someone who is able to give you advice, even if they have been married for just 6 months. They may tell you their experience for the 6 months, and that could help you. Or they may tell you their experience when they were dating, and that could help you. Also, don't look down upon the advice of the elderly. Because someone has been married, I don't know, 40 years, 50 years, you think they have nothing to tell you because they are from another generation. Take advice. What has sustained their marriage for 40 years, 50 years could help you as you're starting off in your marriage. Also, I have seen people who look down upon people who've not done a wedding. Just because you are doing a wedding doesn't mean that you cannot get advice from someone else who didn't do a wedding. They got married and their marriage is working and sustained. You can get advice from them. One thing I remember, for a couple that didn't do this big wedding and all, they just got blessings from their spiritual leader, if I remember the story well, and their parents. Then they began life together. One thing they told us is, we are a team, that we should work together as a team. When we visited them, they were my husband's friends, and that really helped us. Even when we were planning our wedding, even when we got married, that has helped us a big deal. We could have probably thought to ourselves, these people have nothing to say. They didn't do a wedding like we are planning to do. But we didn't. We went to them and sought counsel. So make sure to seek counsel and visit even people who are divorced. They are able to advise you and tell you what made their marriage not work. Because sometimes we think just because these people they had a failed marriage, they have nothing to say. Sometimes they actually have a lot to say because they have done it and it has failed, and they know why it actually failed. And they have knowledge on how to help you not to get into a marriage that might fail, the mistakes they did. If someone is actually willing to help you, not the people who are saying, marriage doesn't work, it's just a scam. No, seek advice from people who have positive energy. And know, when you hear people, just sieve and see what works for you. But don't overlook people because of their current status, okay? So seek counsel from couples, seek counsel, even from YouTube, like you're watching today, this video. It is very important. Watch my videos, watch other people's videos. I know there are a lot of people talking about marriage, and especially positive advice on marriage. Don't just listen to people who are saying marriages can't work. We are here to share. Your partner is yours when you are with them at home. Once they leave the house, they are public property. No, don't listen to such kind of content. There are marriages that are actually working, and there are happy marriages, and I'm glad that people are coming out nowadays to actually talk about their marriages that are actually working. So YouTube, read books, just seek counsel wherever you can. Seek counsel, and when it is time, please make sure to do premarital counseling. All right, so that leads me to the next one, which is commitment was mandatory. For arranged marriages, there was no going back home. Actually, one thing that used to happen when I talked about the way the couple would be sat down by the elderly, and they would be told how to work around their marriage. One thing that used to be done that day is the lady would be told that we have now officially handed you over to your husband. So now you are married. Sometimes parents would even say you have no bed in this house, so basically you cannot go back because there is no place for you to sleep. In the modern day, there are people who say, just to make it serious, to make it look very serious, they say your bedroom is now going to be made an office, is now going to be made a store, and so you have no room in this house. I know there are people who got into arranged marriages and they suffered and they struggled. I am not saying you must stay in a marriage even if it is abusive, even if things are violent. I'm not saying that. All I am saying is they went knowing there is no coming back. So they had to make it work. They had to make the marriage work. What we can get for our modern marriages today is, once you have done the background check, you have been very logical, you've not just moved with emotions, you've asked the right questions, you have thought about it, you have prayed, you have sought counsel, you're not running away from the people who can tell you the hard truth. You have sought counsel. You now make the decision to go on with the marriage, knowing there is no turning back. We have to make this work because challenges are there. I don't know of any marriage that has not had a challenge. Every marriage goes through challenging times, and every marriage goes through seasons. So you might find a very high season where everything is okay, and then you find another season where things are tough and all that. So you go in with the mentality that this has to work. We have to figure out how to make this marriage work. If we're in trouble, we can seek help. We can, nowadays there's therapy. You can go to, church, there are counselors, or you go to a therapist, a professional therapist. Just figure out how to make that marriage work. So you go in with the mentality that this is not a contract. We are here to make it work. I find it interesting when I heard a lady say, she told the husband, if you want to leave, if you're done, you better go. I came here to stay. I came to this marriage to stay. So if you think this is not working, then it is you who will leave. I am not leaving this marriage. And as long as there's no violence, I think marriages can actually go through every season and come out successfully and thrive through all the seasons. Because, just like life goes through seasons and we come back stronger and better. So those are some of the lessons that I picked from arranged marriages that we can emphasize and use in the modern day marriage and make our marriages even better and make them work just like and even better than the arranged marriages, because now we choose the partner we want and the person that we actually like and are attracted to. Thank you for watching to the end. I hope to see you in the next video, and God bless you.